Let's talk business, a business CRM, a personal and business CRM. If you want to check out any of these templates that I make for you, make sure to go to Rise. If you think it's worth saving you the time, go and get it. But if you want to go and make it with me, let's jump right in and make it happen. So if we look at this CRM, it's pretty intense. We have a lot of different views here. We have essentially a breakout of, all the different types of contacts and relationships. There's a synced header built into this template. We have the databases all nice and tidy here. We even have timely meeting notes and contacts. And what these are literally contacts that basically tell us, okay, we got a event that is coming up or is today, or in this filtering case, you can see is today within the next week, or the last interaction was yesterday. So basically, I don't want to go too crazy into things like, what are the meeting notes and what are things like that. We have made a task and event calendar before, and I want to keep this task and event calendar intact, but I do want to go and make sure I show you guys how to make this a CRM database, because that's probably the most important thing here. We don't want to leave anyone stranded regarding that. So if we go and press or /page and do business CRM and go, and let's add a little Dart action, make it a cover of a business. And then that's actually really quickly make a /table inline, business CRM. And if you want to add the icon within it as well, you can definitely do that, because this is going to have a bunch of linked databases throughout. And then I'm going to go back to the main page, and then I'm going to do /page and do companies. And what essentially these are doing is they are making a sort of place that has different types of breakouts. So one being the actual contacts themselves, and one being the companies, information about the companies. And then you'll see that there's a lot of cohesion there and different ways that these views come in with rollups and whatnot. So if we make this unsplash the case, let's do a business again. Let's do a little of this action, and then we can go /table inline, call it companies. Then if we want to, once again, add the logo within the actual database. Then we can go back here and make this full width. And the reason that I made inlines, by the way, is that it's my recommendation throughout any of this, that essentially you take this, copy and duplicate it to go to the business CRM, as well as the companies, and get it back to the homepage in a little bit of an easier fashion than going to the top like this. Now, I am fully aware of the fact that the company page has changed. So what you're going to need to do is go back here, paste it, and then anytime you want to make something in a synced header, just go to the top right of the page, copy a link, paste it over. This is all an H2 and a synced block, so that's why these look like this. So essentially, let's break down for you what is this business CRM. What are the different parts of this database that make all of these different moving parts, go? How are we keeping all these contacts and whatnot moving? How we got all these views going on here? I will go through and show you what these views are after, but the main important thing about this tutorial is the CRM itself. So if we go to the business CRM, there are going to be a lot of different properties here, so just do your best to stay on task with what's going on, because it's going to be a lot. So if we go to contact type, we can make a select property for different things. So obviously we have things like relationship, we have things like opportunity, we have clients, and then we have customer. And obviously client and customer are kind of similar, but they can definitely be different as well. I like to have these colors a certain way. Do whatever your preference is on things, but I would like to do this. And then obviously there are different ways to put emojis in here. Obviously if you go to the internet and look for it, or you can do Windows and dot if you're on Windows, and do a card, or for a client, I like to do a little check mark, opportunity, cash, and relationship, smile. So then the next step we want to do is make a person and call it account owner. Now this is definitely going to be for more of a client or a customer, but essentially this is something you can assign to people in those circumstances. You can assign somebody to that account. Then if we go to email, to add an email property, just call it email. Let's add another view, call it website, and it's a URL property. Let's add another one, call it interactions. Now this is interesting. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to whatever task database you have. So if we go here and go back, let's look at the name of this. And a tip I have for anybody is that you can't really take the link of something like this and relate it. So I would just recommend changing any relation if you have multiple databases that are named the same, and just like change the name a little bit. So like, then if I copy this and go back to the business CRM and we go to business CRM here, let's make this relation, then paste the name. Oh, well, you look at that. It's obviously going to be this one because I had another example. So if we do interactions, this is essentially going to be where we can grab things from the task database and say, okay, this is when we had different interactions. So I'm just going to click on one for an example. So then if we go to this next property, it's going to be a rollup property. So this rollup is going to be last interaction. And this last interaction is going to be a interaction rollup, date, and then latest date. And that's basically saying, okay, let's say we had multiple different interactions. So this is January 4th, and this is January 5th. As you can see, it's pulling in the date that was 2 days ago, which would be January 5th, rather than all of them. Because if I don't have it set to that, if we change the configure rollup to just show original, it's gonna have both. But if we pull in the latest date or the earliest date is the wrong thing, because that'd be like the interaction that was farthest out. But if we do latest, it means like the most recent. So then what looks better than that, however, is if we take a formula property. So we take this formula and just call it last interaction. And I'm actually going to change this to parentheses rollup. And then what I like to do is actually go to this and always hide this property so that we just have the better looking one up. So if we go here, basically what we want to do is we make a formula called format. We use a format date property, and then we take the property that is the last interaction, that's the rollup, and then we put a comma, space, parentheses, and what we want to type is MMMM, so that means month, date, and then year. Then we put a parenthesis at the end of all that, and as you can see, it nicely changes to January 5th, 2022. So this is a much better look than the other one. Then next, what we want to do is we actually want to make a relation to the organization. So if we go to relation, do the same process as before. So if we go back, let's make sure it's the right companies. Obviously, if you don't have anything named, that's going to be fine. But for me, I have a couple of these. So I need to go back, and go and add a relation, type in companies, make sure it's companies 1, because that's what we're working with. And then we do organization. Let's make an example one. So if I go here, there is nothing in here, but let's go and add and work on this. So we're kind of doing two things at once here, but if we do that, then we can add a couple things in here. So if we go to a select property, we can do like location. So let's call this Salesforce. Make sure it's in San Francisco. And then the industry, to make it easy, let's do sales. Or we just do, industry. And we can call it tech sales. Put a little cloud emoji. So the nice thing about this is we can then like connect it to multiple different people. So if we call this guy John Doe, we can connect this to multiple different people. If we have multiple people we know that work at Salesforce, that's how that's gonna go. But essentially, you know, that you can see we made this for a reason, because then what we can add in here, if we go to rollup location, can configure the rollup to go to the organization properties. Now this is obviously gonna change with remote work. So this may not actually work all the time, but it's an example of what you could choose. You could obviously choose a select property for the person themselves. San Francisco is the location. And then we can also do a rollup, which would work, you know, if we do rollup industry, then we don't need to manually put the industry for people if they all work at the same company. It's a choice whether you want to do this or whether you want to do just look at what is the thing that I can put in manually. I just like this option because it's kind of cool to look at. And we go to industry in this rollup. So as you can see, it brings in tech sales. So then we can add another property here, which I just always like to have in there, which is a created time property, which is like added. And this can just show you like when did we add them to the CRM. And then this is more for the sort of people that aren't your relationships. So relationships are basically people that you're friends with or that you have business relationships with that aren't monetarily based. So if we go and do things like opportunities, clients, and customers, then we can do a monthly value, or we can just do a value property. This is just examples that I came up with. So we can do formula that takes, and call it yearly value. And then it basically takes the monthly value. Let me type month, and we can use that monthly property and do times 12. And let's put 100 and show you an example of changing both of these properties to being US dollars. So you can see they're worth $1,200 a year. And then if we go to here, what I like to do is have a property that's called cover image. And this basically just makes it so that if we use something for John Doe here, so if we go into my downloads here, we can get a John Doe, add him as a cover image. But that's all of the properties that you're going to have for this business CRM and for the organization. So basically what you're going to do is I would recommend hiding some of the properties. Like I would recommend hiding the last interaction. Let's configure to always hide this one. What else can we hide? There's actually a few more properties that I do want to showcase. If we go and add a couple more here, we want to add a stage. When this is essentially going to be for people who are in the different stages. And this is actually just specifically for opportunities. However, we're going to show you how you can have a lot of nice different views and prevent yourself from like seeing all this at once and only really see it for when people need it. So if we go to lead, then we can call it qualified. Actually, let's do something else. I want to show you guys something. If you go to property type, change it to multi-select. When you're doing all this, I would recommend this. Go through, type all the ones you want, and then change it to a select property, because going in and clicking every time is just annoying. So if we just go through and change it like that, we can see that this is a relationship, right? So I personally want to set this property to hide when empty because it's a relationship. I don't need to put it to a different type. So then when I hide it, it's all good to go. And then something else that I obviously need to point out is that we do need a phone number. So let's do a phone number. This is a CRM. And there are two more things that I want to add in that are just more for fun. So if we go to the date and do birth date, and then actually, if you want to have a fun formula that can calculate somebody's age, we can go and add a property that is age. So to start with this birthday property, you want to do date between and then do now, parentheses, left, parentheses, right, and then comma, and then go to the birth date property and then do comma, quote, years, quote, parentheses. So this tells you how long it's been in years since their birthday. So if we go and say that it was in 1985, they are 37 years old. Bears haven't won a Super Bowl in 37 years. Feels bad for people from Chicago. And for Marty McFly going back to 1985. But this is a fun property. I just wanted to show it for that reason. Any properties that you want to not really show when they don't apply, what I like to have is them set to, as I said earlier, I want to show this as hide when empty, hide when empty. So that's just something that'll hide things when not needed. But essentially, if we go through here, we can see that there are a lot of different nice things that you can pull from this. So if we go to the meeting notes section here, this is a basic template that's kind of based off of what Notion's baseline meeting template is. But if we go here, we can see I made a relation to the task and event calendar. And I made a relation to when one of the same kind of interactions was on the CRM. And then there's a configured rollup in here, which is task and event, date, show original. So this kind of connects the meeting notes, right, with the interactions that you do have. And interestingly enough, what you can do instead of having like what time was it created at? When was it last edited? You can go here and showcase in the properties only the event date, the type, and the participants. And we can sort it by descending. And we can filter it based off of like a external or internal. So that's just an idea that I had, but we filter it like that. We can then get a view that's based off of when was this client meeting that we had rather than like when did I make the notes. I feel like that makes more sense to me. So if we go back to the baseline of the business CRM here, you can see examples of the old business CRM, and I'm going to show you the filtering here and how it all worked out. So with the timely context, essentially what we had here was a view that was filtered by, as I said, if you remember that last interaction rollup is today, or last interaction is with in the next week, or is yesterday. So that basically lets us have a view of what is the upcoming interactions we're going to have with clients. Let's make sure we have the context on the docket. Let's make sure we can reference meeting notes pretty easily from like a dashboard view as to when we recently had meeting notes. Now, that's great and all, but what I really like is the fact that this CRM will have a bunch of different views. So this is an all contacts view. This is essentially the old CRM that I had before I deleted it, but this is just literally every single one, and it's grouped by the different, what's called contact type here. Hi, Danny. And then the relationships one here, as you can see, all of these different views I'm going to suggest you look at are just filtered by where contact is relationship. So that's essentially taking the contact type and letting you break down what these different things are and having these pages all individualized to what those types of things are. So if you want your friends or your relationships to just be on one view, you can see here, I don't have to deal with all that monthly value thing. I don't have to deal with all that. What I can have is views in linked databases. So if you want to make a linked database based off of this, I will go and show you really quick if you need to see that. I'm sure you're advanced enough at this point, but if you go to share, if you go into the actual database itself, go share, copy link. I can go to things like all contacts, paste this in here, and then make it a gallery view, and then filter it, or sorry, not filter it, then group it by contact type. And then personally, I don't want these here. And then we can take this group and then hide that. So we can basically see it by that. So that's how we kind of go through and do this, right? So if we go to the relationships, you can see it's just a nice little view that just shows more things that make sense. Like obviously we want to see when the last interaction is. We want to see when the email, what their email is, their phone number, their birthday. This is more of a personal touch. But then if we go to opportunity, I have it filtered in a different sense. So this is obviously filtered for opportunity, but it's grouped by none else than the stage. So the stage one is specifically a property that is made for the sort of operations side and the opportunity side of the CRM. So we can take through and just drag and change the different stages that somebody's in if we're trying to get them to convert into a client. Which, speaking of clients, we then have this sort of situation where we have the context of what our clients are. We can see the monthly value. You can sum it up to where you can see like how much is their calculation for their yearly value. So then you can have a view of like how much all your clients are worth, and then you can do the exact same thing for your paying customers as well. So that is kind of the way that you can go through and integrate all these different things. And then lastly, if you want to take a look at the sort of task and event calendar, this is something that's been standard across all my stuff. You can go and get a free task and event calendar template, but essentially this is just a view of these CRM events. So it's filtered so that the contacts are not empty. And that means that essentially any time that you have a relation with a sort of person in the CRM, that's a view of what the calendar can be. Obviously, you can have a master calendar where you don't need those kind of things, but I like to have that so you can filter it like that, have the properties showcase what contacts are there. And that kind of just breaks down for you a nice little look at what a CRM can look like functioning with a task and event calendar. I would recommend integrating it into your own system. You know, for example, if I were to go to my Rise Productive Hub, I did just sort of go through and make this whole system. So what I can have here is obviously this all integrated with my own stuff. And when I get into contact with people, I'm going to integrate it in that way, but I have it really integrated with the true task and event calendar that we have over here, which is like the actual one that we use. This is one of my favorite and most advanced templates that I've made so far. So I hope you guys really do get a good look and idea of how to make it and how to integrate this into your own workspace. I will recommend that you go and, if you want to save some time, get the template, but everything that you see here is pretty standard. That main business CRM is what you need to do. If you want to have whatever kind of organization you have and look of everything, totally go ahead and do that. But it's going to be exciting to see how you guys make your own templates and your own setups for the CRM base. I hope you guys enjoy this template. If you have any questions about it at all, please make sure to reach out to me. If you want to book a call with me regarding anything life organization or Notion wise, I'm around, call me, I need friends. No, but we can do a one-on-one coaching sesh, make it a thing. I really do want to give you guys some value one-on-one. So if you're interested, go into the description and check that out. I appreciate you watching this video, but I'd also appreciate it if you check out that video right there to see how you can improve your Notion even more.